to my channel. Today we are doing a planner workout for me. If you don't know, I'm a fitness instructor and so I work for my mom. She runs a business called Gaudet Fitness Solutions. So I teach 2 classes every week. The first one is Cardio Blast and the second one is Sweaty Sunday. Cardio Blast is just as it sounds. It is a cardio class. It's about 30 minutes long and in and out, different exercises, using weights sometimes, but mostly body weight exercises just to get your heart pumping and to get you a little bit sweaty. The second one is Sweaty Sunday, which is a full body strength workout with some abs in there. And so we do a set of arms, a set of legs, and a set of abs, which makes it really tough because you're focusing on one at a time. And I find that really makes it work, especially for that last ab set. So the class that I want to really focus on right now is Cardio Blast, and so I have a Cardio Blast class coming up really shortly that I need to plan for, so I thought I'd take you along for the ride. There are 2 things that I use to help me make up the class. One is just my brain, all of the knowledge that I have from making classes in the past and attending other classes. The second one, I have this book. It's called The Big Book of Exercises, so if I don't know what I want to do, or if I'm looking to focus on a specific type of the body, so for example triceps or biceps, I can flip to that section of here and this will give you a bunch of different variations of classic moves that I can choose from. The third place is just the internet, because the internet is amazing. It has so many different resources that can be used. You just have to kind of search through them to find them, and that's a really great tool to figure out what exercises you want to do. To get started, the first thing you need to know is how you want to set up the class. And so because I've been doing Cardio Blast and Sweaty Sunday for so long, there's a very set schedule for how it should be set up. And so for Cardio Blast, we're doing a cardio ladder at the beginning, starting with 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, all the way up to 60 seconds. And then you go down 60 seconds, 50 seconds, 40 seconds, each one with a different exercise at each level of time. And then there's a set of combo moves. You do the cardio ladder again, and then there's a set of core, and then sometimes a finisher at the end. And that's all, in and out, 4 different steps. So we need to plan the cardio ladder, the combo, and the core sets. Starting with the cardio ladder, we need 5 different exercises, all very cardio focused. As I said before, it starts with 20 seconds and it goes up to 60 seconds in 10-second intervals. And so we'll do 20 seconds of the first, 30 seconds of the second, all the way up to 60 and then back down again. I have it sort of written down on my piece of paper here, and I'll go through it and write it down as we go. The first one is 20 seconds. Because it's only a small interval of time, I try to pick something that's a little bit less complicated and kind of get a little bit more complicated sometimes as the time goes on. So last week I did bum kicks, I believe, for the first 20 seconds. This week I'm going to pick something pretty similar to that. I'm thinking jacks, and so there's many variations of jacks. You could do a regular jack, or you could do what's called a seal jack. So instead of having your arms go above your head, they go straight in front of you to do a seal jack. So for the first 20 seconds, I will do seal jacks. Okay, on to 30 seconds. And so now 30 seconds is a good amount of time, so it can get a little bit more complicated and it doesn't really matter that much. I also want to consider doing variations as we go. People don't always love jumping exercises, so I always provide modifications for that, but it's also nice for people not to have to constantly modify everything. And so to have something thrown in there that isn't a jumping or is something a little bit different is important for that variation, so people don't get bored, but also so they don't feel like they are constantly having to modify, because that's never a great feeling for anybody. And so for this one, I'm going to use some inspiration from the book because I figured that would be a great way to find a new different exercise that I haven't used in a while. There's a section in the book called Fat Loss Exercises, which does a lot of cardio-based exercises. And while I think it's important to recognize that you shouldn't only be doing cardio for fat loss because there's so many great benefits to it, that is what the section is called. And the one that I chose out of here is a squat jump to box. So if you notice right here in the corner, they call it a seated squat jump. So it really focuses on your quads, but also gets you definitely moving and a little bit sweaty, which will fit in the cardio category. Basically, it's similar to a squat jump where you squat and then jump up, except you're going down to a seated position, which sometimes helps people make sure they're going down a little bit farther. If the seated is sort of below 90, or even if it's at 90, it reminds you to actually sit back when you're going to squat up. And I'll write that one down. Our third exercise is for 40 seconds, and so here's kind of where I want to start mixing it up, because I feel like the first two have some jumping in it, and so it's better to not have that for the third one, to mix it up a little bit. The one that I want to use for this one is a split stance thruster, and so that means that you're in a lunge, but you're not actually switching lunges. You're just stationary in that lunge the whole time. You lunge down and then you thrust up with weights. And so you're using that momentum from a strong lunge to standing up to get the weights up above your head. It is less of moving around, but it is tiring. And personally, I hate thrusters, but they're so good for you. And so I like to include them sometimes in my workouts. On to 50 seconds. 50 seconds is a long time, and so it's important to really have a movement where people will not get bored, or you're really moving around so it isn't as repetitive as it would be otherwise. Or at least that's what I find makes for a good class where people are really engaged. For this one, I think we're going to do a walkout, or an inchworm in other terms, which is where you start standing up or even start bending over, and then you walk your hands out into a plank, and then also give the option of adding a plank jack on that plank. So walk out to a plank jack is our 50 seconds here. On to 60 seconds. This one is a little bit more difficult because I like to do ones that are one side and then the other side. And the reason for that is because it's 60 seconds repeats. So we get to the end at the top to 60 seconds, do 60 seconds, and then we can do it again on the other side. So it's another 60 seconds. So it's better to not just do one side the whole time. I need to check to see what I did last week because I have a couple of favorites for this one, and I really want to make sure that I'm not repeating it on a weekly basis. Last week I did squat and kick on one side. So this week I'm going to do one of my other favorites, which is elbow to knee. And so this one is a bit of an ab exercise, but it's also a bit of a cardio exercise, and we'll do it on one side and then on the other side right after. We have finished the ladder, and so I have it written down here for when I go and make it a little bit bigger on my whiteboard. And now we're moving on to this set. And so the first set that we have to do here is a combo set. So what I mean by a combo set is basically a full body, more technically strength focused, but because you're using your whole body, it adds a little bit of cardio in there and it mixes it up a little bit. The combo set, we will be doing it 3 times, and I normally do it for about 40 seconds with a 10-second break, or sometimes 45 seconds with a 10-second break, depending on the timing and how much time we have left. There are also only 2 exercises in this set, so it tends to go by pretty quickly. The first exercise I want to do is a Turkish Get Up, which is a little bit complicated, so I need to have a modification ready for that one. To give you a visual, it is also in the book. And so it's this one right here. You start lying on your back, and you end up standing at the end. The modification for that one will likely be a crunch and press with a weight. And so it gets the first part of that movement, but not the last part of it. A favorite of mine to use for here, because it's a bit of a cardio, but definitely a full body, is a snatch. And it will be an alternating snatch because people don't always have barbells, and so it's a lot easier when you have dumbbells to do an alternating snatch. And so that's what we'll be doing here. It really puts you out of breath at the end of that one. After finishing the combo set, we would go straight and do the ladder one more time with the exact same exercises as the first one, so we don't need to plan again for that. The last set here is our core set, and so we'll get started with that one. Normally it's only 2 exercises as well. For the core set, we also want to think about using different parts of our core, and so I tend to pick one that uses sort of our middle part, and then one that uses the side, more of the obliques. So to touch on our obliques, one of my favorites is a Russian twist. And so that's sitting in sort of a V-sit and grabbing a light weight or no weight and twisting one side and then the other. To hit straight on, I want to do a cross body crunch. And so you cross your arms like this and you crunch up. This way you're not using your arms as momentum to get your body up, and you're just using your abs the whole time. So it adds a little bit extra difficulty on that. And that comes to the end of the workout. I don't tend to plan a finisher. I might have something in mind, just because sometimes you have 1 minute to do a finisher and sometimes you have closer to 3 or 4, and so you add a little bit extra and make it a little harder. It also depends on the class. You might be feeling an extra bit, or you feel like it needs a little bit extra, and sometimes you are dead by the end. I also don't normally plan the stretch at the end. I have a variation of stretch is in my mind, and depending on what we're working that day, there's a lot of legs, there'll be more leg stretches. If there's a lot of arms, there'll be more arm stretches at the end. This one definitely has a lot more legs and arms, and so that will be the focus for the stretch at the end after we have finished the entire workout. Here is the finished product. And so now I'm ready to teach the class. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe below. Thanks for watching.